Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Akron Zips Dynasty mode here in CFB 26. So in last episode, if you did not catch it, we started up year number 5, and it's been a little bit of a back and forth season, but I do like the way we've started. We are 4-3. We have lost to some pretty good teams, so kind of makes sense why we're in this position at the beginning of this episode. But it's been, like I said, a pretty solid season for the most part. If we head on over to the conference standings at the moment, in the MAC, you can see currently we are in 4th place. We're actually tied for 2nd, basically, with Kent State and also Eastern Michigan. It's just teams like Miami, who obviously has beaten us, that are going to be tough to compete with in our own division. We also did play a game against, I think it was like UCLA, and UCLA is definitely miles better than us, so it definitely was too tough for us to beat them. So yeah, that's why we're off to a little bit of an average start, but at least our team is above 500. So hopefully that keeps on going for the rest of the season, and hopefully we could be one of the top 2 teams in our division by the end of the season, or the standings in the conference, I should say, by the end of the season. So hoping that works out well for us. Also, in terms of recruiting so far, we've been putting a lot of our attention to a lot of 4-star guys. Now, there has been some pretty tight races, and it looks like we might end up losing on a lot of them. So I'm really hoping that we honestly somehow find a way to win them still, because some of them still have these visits coming in this episode, which is good. But it seems like definitely a good chunk of those 4-star guys we're starting to lose interest in, unfortunately, not fast enough getting interest on them. And then there's some other players that we're starting to jump up a little bit on, which is good, but I'm hoping that we could obviously still land some decent players this episode for our team. If we don't, obviously, hopefully we could land some in the off season. But yeah, hoping that we could still land a 4-star recruit. But like you can see here with all these guys, like for instance Brian O'Neill, we're currently in 3rd place. He looks like he's probably going to likely commit to the first team. MoMA, we're in a very tight race now with, I don't know what school that is, but we're pretty much very close with them. They have passed us. We do have a visit still scheduled with them, I think, coming up. So hopefully that could help things a little bit. Stachelski, we just gained a lot of bit of interest from because he was also visiting our school recently. So you can see that we are not too far behind. I don't know what the school is. I feel like it's Oregon, because I think I seen like a clip recently, because college football season started around like a week ago maybe, or a couple days ago. And I saw that the mascot, which was a duck, I think he lost his head or something like that, and then ran it into the locker room or something like that. So I think that's Oregon, but I could be completely wrong. But yeah, we're competing with them quite well. And then you can see also with Lehman, we are definitely competing with this team. Now, they haven't reached the top 3 on Lehman yet, which is good. So maybe we do have a chance to still win him. But it's definitely going to be tight races right to the wire with all those 4-star guys. And hopefully some of those 3-star guys we could land, just in case we don't get those 4-star guys. So with that said, I think we're ready to get into simulating more of the season. There was no comments that basically brought up anything in terms of suggestions, so we're probably just going to keep the team the same. We have, I think, a pretty clean bill of health going into this episode as well. I think the only injury at the moment, was Duckett, and he's only out for a week, so we should be back to full health again as early as next week, which is good. Hopefully we continue to win games, and hopefully this team, like I said, can finish as a top 2 team in our conference. Right now, we are going to be playing Bowling Green, who's 2-5, so this should be an easy win for us, but at the same time, you never know really with the numbers and stuff like that. As you can see, Bowling Green's offense is pretty solid, actually. Their defense, though, is way worse than ours, so I'm hoping that means we could score a decent amount of runs against them, or not runs, I guess, technically, touchdowns against them, and then also our defensive play could basically shut out their offense a bit, so let's hope that we have a good game here. They're currently, in terms of the standings, 10th place, and yeah, they're not very good whatsoever. They're technically one of the worst teams, I guess, in our conference, so this should be a win. If it's not, it will be pretty disappointing. So with that said, let's advance to next week and see if there's any nice updates on our scouting stuff, and if we actually get the win here as well. But I'm hoping that we can get off to a good start to this episode, so we'll come back, obviously, to this. Looks like Stachelski has locked us out, unfortunately, which is the guy literally just won up, and we must have fell back to 3rd place. We did win that game, because I do see the XP just went up to 1,000 again. Also, for some reason, just give me a second here, my face cam just decided to up the brightness, and I do not know why. Let me try and get it to fix itself, because I don't like the exposure being too high. There you go, that's better. That's kind of weird that it did that mid-episode, because normally it does that before I start recording. But anyways, nice to get that victory. We have jumped up in championship contender status to C+, which is also very nice. But the one thing that sucks, obviously, losing out on Alex Duchelski. So we were in second, but then I guess technically that third place team jumped into second place and got into a recruiting battle with Oregon instead. So unfortunately, we are not going to be getting the 4-star left guard, but hopefully we can land ourselves a 3-star one. And in the edge rushers, we are still number 1 on Crumholes, who's a 3-star, and we are number 2 on Lehman, as he has reached his top 3 schools now, but we are still quite far back at that first place school. I don't know if we're going to land a 4-star guy this year. I'm almost thinking about removing a lot of those 4-stars, but I do want to see if I could get their interest a bit higher with some visits and all that. So at least we won our game, but definitely some stuff that we weren't looking forward to. Okay, so 5-3 on the season now. Let's actually take a look at how that score went in last game. And apparently, I guess, maybe we're in the top 25? Because it just gave me a notification here. Maybe not. No, I don't see us there. Maybe it's just an update thing at the middle of the season on the top 25 schools. I don't even know. But yeah, you can see that technically, I guess... Wait, where are they? UCLA is not a top 25 school, but we lost them. They were really good on paper, so I'm kind of scared if we ever have to go up against a team like that. And, oh, it looks like it's Penn State that has interest in that 4-star guy based on the top 25. I don't think we're going to be able to land him based on that, but at least with Stuchelski locking us out, we do have more hours to spend on some 3-star guys. So we do need ourselves a guard still. So we are going to focus our attention. Oh man, it looks like we're going to lose on MoMA too. So I'm going to have to go to, I guess, find ourselves some guards that are 3-star that we could get as compensation instead. So it does suck to lose out on 4-stars, but a 3-star will work if there's any out there that we could potentially win. Playing time. But looks like Bowling Green's on number 1 for this guy, so we should be able to compete for that guy for sure based on that. Bello playing style, Cruz, Coach Prestige, playing time as well for Steve Grassu. There's some pretty, they're not crazy good teams. I mean, the Mean Green are okay. We could definitely throw our name in for Steve Grassu too. So let's maybe give some hours to those guys since we have hours now. We'll offer them obviously scholarships to start off because that's what we normally do. And we have 50 hours. We might as well put 25 into each of them. And hopefully those guys will want to come here just because we lost out on Stuchelski. Alright, so that's not a bad little update there. But, yeah, we're probably going to be losing out on O'Neal very, much next week. So I'm already going to remove O'Neal from our list. There's just no way we're going to win him at this point. So we're going to get back 50 hours because of that. This one we're likely going to lose out on MoMA, but I would like to hold on to him there just in case. And then Lehman is probably also somebody we won't win, but we might as well put 50 hours from that one guy that we knew we were going to lose into some other people. So let's see. With 50 hours, should I put 10 hours into a bunch of dudes? That might not be a bad idea. Kind of spread it out a little bit. Sure, why not? Let's do 10 hours on all these dudes. Also, there's other positions that we could still target, but I might have to leave that for the off-season for the time being. But I just want to get some interest up there on a lot of these dudes, and that way maybe we could land some of them in this episode or next episode. So there's only one guy that doesn't have any hours spent, and that's Larry O'Leary, which is a funny name. I forgot about that guy. All right. So there you go, a little update on that. Aside from that, let's take a look at how good our game was last week. Obviously, we know we won it, but I want to take a look at how good it was from an all-around team standpoint. So we won that game 22-10, so not the craziest highest scoring game. Not the best, it's a decent defensive effort, I guess. Only giving up 10 is not really that bad. But we didn't score as much as I was expecting. 50% completion rate from Jeff Jennings. I do want to get Sharp into a game. But I'm not going to rush him into a game yet. Maybe next season, but right now I feel like Jeff Jennings is the guy. Just because obviously he has the better, I guess, potential in a way. And And then in terms of rushing yards, 57 rushing yards from Branham, and then from receiving yards, 102 from Rod Damiani. So not too bad from Rod. And then Robert Thomas apparently is injured. Oh no. Oh no, I just see the injured icon. I was like, shit, 81 yards. Oh no, he got injured. That's not good. We got to take a look at that injury update. I was hoping we'd stay healthy the rest of the season, but the Lou's technically our best player. That's not ideal. Let's see that injury report. Hopefully it's not too long term. Okay, it's not that bad. It's only for 2 weeks with a torn labrum. Our team still has good ratings despite him being out, but obviously he's our best wide receiver by a large margin, so definitely kind of sucks. But let's wish Robert Thomas well, and hopefully he isn't an injury-prone kind of player. That means our wide receivers now, with Robert Thomas being out, I think aren't as strong for sure. Like if we go to our depth chart here, what does our wide receivers look like at the moment here without Robert Thomas? Okay, so Griffin's still really good. Actually, yeah, technically it's not that bad, I guess, because Griffin's a good player. JoJo Carter got a lot of growth this year. Same with North, good win. Yeah, it's not that bad still, but obviously Robert Thomas being out sucks. Kirkus is going to get a chance to potentially play some games here while Thomas is out, so hopefully Thomas is back relatively soon, but yeah, definitely a little bit of a blow, but at least, like I said, we have Lewis Griffin, who I really like Lewis Griffin. I think he's been one of my favorite players so far that we have brought into this team. Alright, so with that said, let's go back to the season, and I guess we will already go into this next game if there's nothing I could do recruiting-wise. Let's just take a look at updates on... Actually, I didn't even advance a week yet. Yeah, so never mind. Our scouting stuff is set up properly. We have a game against Toledo, and they are 3-5, so the reverse record of us are 2-2 versus the conference. Currently, their rating 65 overall, 66 offense, 64 defense. So we should easily be able to beat them once again. Like I was hoping in last episode, I was hoping the second half of the season would be better than the first, and I think we have an easier time in the second half against opponents. So hopefully we could climb up the standings because of that. As you can see, we are currently technically tied for second still. Eastern Michigan is the only other one we really need to worry about, I guess. Miami, though, being 6-2, it's going to be tough to catch up to Miami, but we did play them earlier in the year. But right now, we're only one of 3 teams that are this much above 500 right now, so just got to keep on winning games and hopefully getting some good impact players like Rod Damiani was last game. So with that said, I think we're ready to get to next week, so let's see if we can beat Toledo and go 6-3. Or are they going to find a way to upset us? We're 3-1 against the conference, so I feel like we should be able to win this game. But obviously, you never know what happens in these sims. So week 10, let's see what we got here. See if we can beat them. I don't remember if we have any visits scheduled this week or not. We do got some guy committing. It's Brian committing to Maryland. We'll come back to that in a little bit. We lost that game? Are you kidding me? It must have been because of the injury to friggin' Thomas. Must have been. There's no reason why we would have lost that game, but D-plus championship contender just because of that loss. So I don't know if that guarantees us not finishing top, but damn, that's a big loss and one that I was not really expecting from our team. Damn, that sucks, man. So a big loss, and also a big loss in terms of recruits is Brian Moma has decided to go to Maryland, so we will not be getting Moma. We kind of expected it anyways. Moma has reached his top 8 schools. We are currently number 2. And then Scott McKillop has reached his top 8 schools. We are currently number 1. Wow, that's really surprising we lost that game because we definitely had the better team on paper. But now we have a game against Ball State, who's 4-5. We should be able to beat Ball State too, but honestly, who never knows at this point. Let's go to the scores and schedule and see how badly we lost last game. Like, that's definitely something I was not expecting. We lost 34-16. Holy, okay, that's a really rough game. Really rough game. I don't know if we had any injuries in that game, so we'll have to take a look in a little bit. But Jennings did throw over 50%, so it's not that Jennings had a bad game. I guess the defensive play was not very good. Branham had 80 yards. Receiving yards, 109 from Damiani and 102 from Griffin. Looks like we played decently offensively, but I guess the defense just didn't hold up. I'm not too sure exactly, but I think the defense was the problem in that game. And that's why we gave up so much. Like 34 is a lot to give up. 16, I'm surprised we only had 16 points. I guess we just could not convert as much. Like we had a lot of yardage, but didn't convert on a lot of touchdown chances. Damn. Well, that sucks. That sucks. Well, at least we're still one of the better teams, right, in our division or conference or whatever you want to check it as. Let's see. Where are we? We are 4th, so we are technically below Kent State. I don't know why the reason is. Maybe it's because of the conference record. Where does it say the conference record? Oh, yeah, 3-2. Yeah, it's based on conference record. So, yeah, we fall down to 4 because of the conference record. Eastern Michigan is now number 1, and they're 5-0 versus the conference. So, that's kind of surprising considering how much lower they are than us in terms of ratings. But, oh, well, let's go back to the injury report, see if we lost anybody last week as well. Because maybe that's what helped us lose that game. Let's take a look, see if we lost anybody. Yes, we did. We lost one of our best defensive players, so that's why we had a problem. A hamstring tear for Kenneth Jackson. Kenneth Jackson's been a fantastic player all year. He had 2 players of the week, I think it was in the MAC, defensively. And yeah, suffering a hamstring tear is an absolute brutal injury. Out for 7 weeks. And yeah, that really, really sucks. That's probably why we gave up so much touchdowns and stuff against a mediocre team. But man, that sucks. That is very much unfortunate. Risk of injury increased. He had 52 tackles all year, but I think his season's basically done because of that. So injuries are definitely playing a little bit of a factor this season, which is not what I was hoping for. At least Thomas will be back next week, it looks like, but Jackson's season, I think, is done, which sucks. Let's just go to Jackson for a second here. Take a look at the man. Wow, okay, he has his shirt all the way up just to show off his abs. Of course he does. But I don't normally go into these screens this often, but I kind of want a screenshot so for the thumbnail, just because obviously that's a tough one. Yeah, hamstring tear out for 7 weeks. Damn. That is a big one. Hopefully he's not the type of player that's just going to have injuries like that all the time. I guess technically after you have a big injury like that, it increases the injuries more and more. At least he's not at severe yet, but that's definitely a tough injury to have this early into his career, because I feel like this is one of his first seasons, right? Isn't he like a sophomore? No, he's a senior. Okay, so never mind. This would be maybe his last season too with this team. I'm not sure. But shout out to Kenneth Jackson regardless. All right, so all that is good, but obviously those injuries are not good. We do have a game against Ball State this week, who's 4-5, 2-3 versus the conference, so pretty much reverse of us again. Hopefully we can find a way to win this one. But first, obviously, we need to get to the recruiting and adjust our hours here occasionally as well. So that was just the other running guard. We did bring in 2 guys or put on more hours onto some of these guys. I will put more hours into these dudes too, because I think we drastically need guards. So let's put an additional 10 on each of them to help things out a little bit. We'll also put some hours into O'Leary, I guess. Let's do a 25er. And we'll also just do a 5er. And we have 10 hours left. I know I need a lot of other things technically, but should I look at tackles? I feel like I'm not doing the best of jobs this year in terms of bringing in players, but oh well. Let's see. This is not a tackle. We wanted to go to tackles because we only have 1 out of 4, it says. Trying to find somebody here that would be easy to bring in. A lot of these guys have already committed places. This guy just wants playing time. Jabari Winning. I guess I have him technically on my target list. Did I have him on my target list? I don't feel like I put him on my target list. Was he the only one on my target list? Probably. I guess Josh D'Imperio. What about you? Coach Prestige. Wilder. No. Coach Prestige again. Stefan. Yeah, there's not really a lot of guys left for 3-star tackles. I guess we'll just go for one that doesn't even have proximity to home or anything at this point. I just feel like it's definitely going to be a tough one to battle for in that sense. So yeah, let's go for Tim Stephan, and we'll put 10 hours into him, which means offering him a scholarship. And then also searching his social media. Sure, why not? All right, so there you go. It sucks that we're not going to probably be able to land a 4-star recruit this year, but hopefully we get close. I didn't actually take an update at those other 4-stars that we still have, like Lehman, who's the only one left. We are currently going to probably lose out on him next week, so I think I got to remove him and then spend 50 hours elsewhere. So unfortunately, no 4-star recruits this year for our team, but hopefully we could get some of these 3-star guys instead. So let's put some more hours into these dudes. We have 50 hours, so we might as well add 5 to these guys that have 10 at least. And then we'll see how much hours we have left after that. But yeah, it sucks to not get a 4-star recruit this year. But yeah, we just could not get it done. Hopefully next year is better in that sense. Let's do 25 hours on Stefan since we really need a tackle, I think. So that's all adjusted. Hopefully we could get some people to commit in this episode, but at this point I don't know if it's going to happen this episode or next episode. So we have week 11 anyways against Ball State. How much more weeks do we have left of the season, actually, out of curiosity? Because I don't remember if it's like week 14 or something like that. So yeah, we have week 11, 12, 13, 14, and then there's the conference championships. So we do still have a couple more games at least left of the season, so hopefully we can find a way to go out on a good note. Obviously, we still miss Robert Thomas this game, and our defense just took a huge hit, losing Jackson too. So this game, we're not going to be as strong probably on paper. We're still good defensively. We should be able to easily win this game, though. Like, they're technically way worse than some of the other teams, but they actually have a good record too, though. Like, being rated a 56, a 54 on offense, and a 59 on defense, there's no reason why we shouldn't lose this game, but there could be an opportunity to obviously lose it because we lost a good player. All right, so it's been a little bit of a back and forth season. Let's see if we could find a way to beat Ball State, because obviously if we lose this game, it's a pretty substantial upset, I would say, in my opinion. So hopefully we can find a way to win and get to 6-4 on the season. Let's see. So first and foremost, looks like some more people are reaching their top 8 schools. We'll come back to that in a little bit. And we have won that game. So that's good, at least that we won that game. Our championship contenders jumped back up to C. So at least we found a way to respond after last week's tough game. And yeah, good to see our championship contender jump to C. So in terms of recruiting updates, though, like I said, all these guys reached their top 8 schools. We're currently leading on all of them. Those being Trent Christmas, Gabe Steinbach, Emmanuel Lacouture, and also Jabari Whitting. Hopefully we continue to work on those guys quite well, because obviously it would be nice to at least land some 3-star recruits this year, and then hopefully as this team gets better, we could eventually land more 4-stars. I don't even know how still we landed Robert Thomas a few years ago, to be honest, at this rate. So let's advance, and let's take a look at those recruiting updates. And we have a game against Central Michigan coming up, and they're 6-4 just like us, so this might be a tougher matchup for sure. We'll prime that up in a little bit, but first and foremost, let's take a look at how our game went last week, and then we'll look into the recruiting update. So week 11, and to the MAC we go. We won this game 42-24. That's what I was hoping for. Giving up 24 points, though, against Ball State, probably not good. But like I said, our defense took a big hit, losing Jackson. But getting 42, good to see our offense at least showed up in that game in terms of getting a lot of touchdowns. In terms of stats, Jennings threw 402 yards. That's probably Jeff Jennings' best game of his career. 63% completion rate. Maybe he's an offensive player of the week potentially based on that, at least in my opinion. But that's a lot of good passing yards. Rushing yards, 63 from Branham. And in receiving yards, Amerson had over 100. Nice. That's good to see Amerson had a big game. Same with JoJo Carter. Griffin only had 48. He is not injured, but I guess he just had a bit of a rough time in that game by comparison to other people in receiving yards. So there is that. We'll go back. I guess I could have put Sharp in for that game against Ball State, but I kind of wanted to keep with Jennings in a sense, so oh well. So with that update, let's go back here and take a look at our recruiting update. And we'll also see if there's been any injuries as of late. But yeah, we're still leading on McKillop, which is good. Christmas, Steinbach, Muma. We are probably not going to catch up to Michigan, I think that is. So we might have to withdraw from him soon, but we'll probably stay here for the time being at least. Or we'll put more hours into him maybe actually for that matter. Yeah, because if I remove all this, I could probably put 25 into Muma. Right? Yeah, I'll actually have 20 hours only. God damn. I need 5 more hours to... God damn, it's hard to balance these hours around. Lacouture, how are we in terms of leading on him? Big lead on Bowling Green, leading on Crumholes, which is good. Whittimer leading on O'Leary. We aren't still even in his top 8 yet at this point, which is not ideal. I guess I could do a 25 and a 10 on him, so let's do that instead. And that way we use up all our hours still. David Carlos, we're number 1 on, but we're fighting with Bowling Green. We have jumped up over a lot of teams for David Carlos. That's good. Grisou, we are number 1 on as well. And then Stefan, we are not in his top 8 at all at this point. All right. So hours are spent. That is good. Let's take an updated look at, I guess, the injury report just to see if we lost anybody, because we have been having injury troubles this season a little bit. Hopefully no major injuries. Aguide injured. Oh, no. Okay, I don't know if strong safeties are defense. Is it defense? I honestly don't know. But anyways, Maurice Aguide has been down with a partial PCL tear. And yeah, that's not a good injury as well for 5 weeks. Wow. That's a pretty substantial injury too, I think. So that's another tough player to lose, because I don't know who our backup strong safety is, but to lose another player sucks. At least we have Robert Thomas back, but it seems like we're suffering an injury every week right now, so I do not like that whatsoever. Who's our backup strong safety on this team? Because I honestly have no idea if we brought in somebody last year. I feel like we did, but I don't remember. So if we go on over to strong safety, oh, it's Hooks. Okay, at least we have James Hooks. That's good. Hooks will get a chance. Wall's there. And we also have Maja. So I guess technically we'll be okay with James Hooks being in. But losing Aguide definitely sucks as well. So Hooks will come in. Our rating did not get affected by that as well. So that's good news. In terms of the matchup we have, like I said, Central Michigan. We have to play off against them. We are technically better on paper than them. Their defensive rating is definitely what drags down that team quite a bit. 56 defense, but 64 offense. So they're okay offensively. Their rating overall-wise is average, but that defensive rating is definitely below average. JoJo Carter is the impact player, apparently. And we are currently 5th place in the MAC at the moment. Central Michigan's technically above us, but we have the exact same record against the conference and as a whole. So if we could win this game, we could jump back up to the top 3. But right now, it seems like Eastern Michigan and Miami are the teams to beat at the moment. So I think we're ready to get to this game. This is a pretty big game, I guess, for the end of the season. I could jump in and watch some of this game if I want to, but I think I'll save that type of stuff for when we get to the playoffs and all that. But 6-4, friggin' Central Michigan. Can we beat them? Or is this going to be a close one to the end? Who knows? But I feel like it's going to be a close game, but it honestly could be different. Like I said, their defensive rating be not that good. I think that's where we could potentially exploit them. So let's find out if we could find a way to win this game and go 7-4 on the season. And let's see if we get any good recruiting updates as well at this time too. So it looks like some people are getting their top 8 schools and top 5 schools. We'll come back to that in a second. We did win. We did win. That's a big win for our team at the season, our point of the season, as we are now 7-4 and 5-2 versus the conference. We might have jumped into a tie for first place potentially, or second place maybe actually, but still, that's a very big win, I think, at this point in the season. In terms of the recruiting update, though, Muma has reached his top 5 schools, as we are currently behind a couple schools at the moment. We are currently leading on Larry O'Leary. Geez, that's a tongue twister. We're also leading on Carlos Grisou as well, and also Tim Steffen. All right. Good to be lead on a couple dudes. Always love to see it. And we might have got a commitment. No, we got a career record broken. Ooh, that's actually really cool. Okay, I've never seen this before, because obviously this is my first mode doing this, but Lewis Griffin has set the Akron career receiving yard record. Check those records, the records for more details. That is probably the coolest thing I've seen so far in this mode. Is seeing somebody beat a career record. So I did say a little bit ago that Lewis Griffin is probably one of my favorite players in the series. Well, he has the receiving yards record. So I wonder how much points he got in that game for our team, or how many yards he got, I should say, because he doesn't get the points, I guess. But wow, all right. And apparently I have another record broken. Yep, another record too. Holy crap. All right. Well, looks like Lewis Griffin is automatically going to be the channel MVP of the series right now, but he has now also set the career record for receptions in a game. All right. Did he break anything else while we're at it? The answer to that is no, he did not, but he broke 2 records in that game. So that's really cool to come by. We're going to come look at that in a second. Also, we have a game against Kent State coming up, so that's going to be a cool game, but let's take a look at those records. Was not expecting that, so we'll go to records here and see what we got here. So if I head over to Mac, and I guess technically if I go, is there a way to sort by team? Oh, wait, there we go. If I look by team, Akron, here we go. This is where we want to be. So technically passing yards and stuff like that, these are all old records, but receiving yards, look at that. Oh, it's a career receiving yards. Actually, no, this is the current career. Maybe it was game records that we have to look at afterwards. But yeah, Lewis Griffin has the most career records for receptions and receiving yards in Akron's history, I guess. Maybe it wasn't game records then. Yeah, it wasn't game records, but it was career records. That's what I was trying to say more, I guess. But that's still pretty cool to have some career records getting broken because he's been with us for a while at this point. So shout out to Lewis Griffin. So yeah, that's I guess the records. If we go on over to, wasn't there a CFB history thing as well? I guess that's technically where we just were in a way. But yeah, shout out to Lewis Griffin for those. I wonder how good he played last game. Let's take a look at the score from that game. I wonder if we destroyed them or if it was just a close game that he had a lot of good rushes with or what. But we won that game 38-6. That's what I'd like to see. Great defense. And obviously, since, like I said, their defensive rating was questionable, we scored a lot. 38-6. Goddamn. So Jennings threw over 300 yards again. 58% completion rate. Rushing yards 62 from Branham. And receiving yards 93 from Griffin. Thomas back in the lineup had 82. Love to see that. All right. Pretty good game for this team. Probably our best game of the season at the right time. Next, we got obviously take a look at those recruiting updates and see how close we are on some guys. But also we'll take a look at the standings update to see how close we are to being first place at the moment. So in terms of our players, we're still leading on McKillop and Christmas and all these dudes. Muma, we're number 3rd, and this one we might need to put more hours into. Cornerbacks, I don't think they're as important for us, though, because we have a lot of cornerbacks on the team, but eventually we might need to get more. Still leading on kicker, Emmanuel Lacouture. Crumholes we're leading on. Whitting we're leading on. Pretty much all these guys we're leading on, which is good to see at this point. We don't have any hours, so I can't really spend hours on anybody else at the moment, so we'll just keep it the way it is for the time being. We will go take a look here at the standings briefly again. If I always remember where this thing is, I guess it's technically here. Where are we in the conference now at this point? We are tied for first in the conference now. See, that's what I was hoping for. A big week from us. We are now 5-2 against the conference, just like Eastern Michigan and Kent State, who we're playing today. So this is going to be a really big game, too. But technically, yeah, we're tied with Miami in terms of our win-loss record as well. So this is going to be interesting. As of right now, our offense, I guess, technically, if I sort this, let's see, is technically a top 6 offense in our conference. But in terms of points allowed, we are the 3rd best defensive team right now. So that's good to see. Home record 4-2, road record 3-2. Okay, don't really take a look at that type of stuff that often, but I guess now that I know where it is, I should always take a look at it. But this is a big game. Obviously, if Kent State beats us, they would leapfrog us because of the conference ranking. But if we win and Miami loses, that could be a huge. I don't know who Miami's playing today, actually. Let's see if we could take a look at that. Scores and schedule. Who does Miami play today? Out of curiosity, let's go to the MAC. Miami is going to be playing against Toledo. They should be able to beat Toledo because they're 5-6, but Toledo did beat us, I think, right? So who knows? Maybe they could get upset, but this game against Kent State is going to be interesting. I don't know what their rankings are like at this point, but let's take a look and do a little comparison. So in terms of rankings, we are technically better than them on paper. Overall wise, we're 10 points better. We are better than them offensively by 7 points and defensively by 13. We should be able to win this game, but like I said, we don't really know what happens. There could be injuries and stuff like that that hurt us. This is going to be an interesting game. Let's go to injury report and see if there's any other injuries. There wasn't. Obviously, we're still missing Aguide and Jackson. Kind of sucks to lose them, but our team is still doing relatively good without them. All right, so this is a big game. This is the second last game, I think, of the regular season. So can this team find a way to beat Kent State and propel themselves to an 8-4 record, or is Kent State going to find a way to beat us and propel themselves to a 7-5 record? Come on, guys. Just got to find a way to win. Hopefully we have a strong showing offensively, and hopefully our defense plays good as well. So let's advance to next week and see if we get a lot of XP. Hopefully we do. Hopefully we do. Come on, boys. And then hopefully these recruiting updates are good news for us as well. Jabari's reached his top 5 schools. That's good to see. That's all I care about for him. And we gained a lot of XP, which means we did win that game. That's an absolute big win at the end of the season. Pretty much 8-4 now as we have beaten the Golden Flashes. Let's go. All right, this team's looking pretty good. Championship contenders jump back up to C+ again. But yeah, we are definitely looking really good this season. And that's exactly what we're kind of anticipating. But I'm kind of curious on how the box score was in that game. But wow. All right. And we do have a player of the week, maybe? No, another single season record. This one is actually a different record. This one's kind of an exciting one because technically the other ones we were just looking at were career records, I think, from Griffin. But a single season record has been broken. Jeff Jennings has set the Akron single season passing yards record, which means he's already better than Brookhart, I guess, in terms of the amount of yards he's been able to throw. So shout out to Jeff Jennings. I'm curious on his stats from last game. But we're having a lot of record breaking this season. And there's another one, which I kind of expected there would be another one. Jeff Jennings has also set the record for single season passing touchdowns. So he has passed whoever the heck was just on that list that we literally just looked at. We'll come back to that in a second. But yeah, definitely a great year for this team. And Lewis Griffin, the MAC player of the week as well. Wow, a big week again for another player too in Lewis Griffin. So Griffin's looking awesome. Our quarterback's looking awesome. And that's another big week for him. 10 receives, I guess technically. 151 yards and 1 touchdown. So only 1 touchdown for Griffin in that game. But over 150 yards is absolutely awesome. Looks like our offense is working quite well. Also, we have been invited to play in the MAC championship in 1 week against Eastern Michigan. So I guess technically we have clinched a playoff spot, or this is technically the finals, right? Is this the finals for our conference, or is this the actual finals for basically our I guess for the MAC in that sense? Like whoever wins this game wins it all for the MAC. Because if so, that would be awesome if we could win the MAC. If we got invited to this, I guess technically that would mean Miami would have lost or something. I'm not sure, but I got to get a screenshot of that too. I'm not going to put that in the thumbnail because it might spoil things, but that is pretty substantial news. I think we might be actually going to a finals in this 5th season. So we'll see if that's actually the case. I guess that will probably be in next episode maybe because it would be kind of a good way to start next episode. Yeah, because the end of the season's now because we have a bye week. So hopefully we did not suffer any injuries in that last week. But players of the week, obviously, first and foremost. Let's go back to the MAC and take a look again at our boy Lewis Griffin. Obviously up there as offensive player of the week versus Kent State. We actually won that game 45-38. So that's a pretty close game in a way. But nice little victory for our team to end off the season. And then if we go to stats and records, looks like we got our record stuff, so we'll look at this. We also have a trophy room to look into. Ooh, all right. But if we go to the MAC here, let's once again look at... Actually, let's just go to Akron instead. So, yeah, here we go. In terms of our records, as we saw these earlier, Lewis Griffin up there, obviously, in all-time receiving yards and receptions. But now if we go to season records over here, you can see that Jeff Jennings... passing touchdowns in a season in 2029, had 30 passing touchdowns. And then if you also go up to here, passing yards this season, 3,591. So more records broken. I don't know who were in these spots before. We literally just looked at it not that long ago. But shout out to Jeff Jennings on an incredible season for this team. So that's awesome. Okay. Trophy room. I guess we won a trophy or what? I guess because we clinched a final spot, right? What is this? The Wagon Wheel Trophy. Okay. So the Wagon Wheel Trophy is awarded to the winner of the rivalry between Akron and Kent State dating back to 1946. The trophy is large, rustic, wooden wagon, whatever else it says. But, okay, so just because we won that matchup against Kent State, we got a wagon wheel. I didn't even know that was a thing. So we can unlock some more awards, it looks like, if we beat other rivals and stuff. But that's our first one. Looks like the other ones come if you're playing as other teams, but that's funny. I didn't even realize that was a thing. Guess I wouldn't have known because in the early years we were really bad on this team. But let's go to the standings for the end of the season. And actually, let's go to scores and take a look at that last game a bit more in depth. There's only 2 teams that are playing this week, but we're probably going to leave the finals till next episode. Maybe we watch all of the championship if it's the actual last game, which I think it is. Maybe we'll do that in next episode, just entirely. But yeah, 45-38, as we said. Not a strong defensive showing, but 60% completion rate, 437 yards from Jennings. Can't ask much more out of your quarterback. Brandon only had 25 yards. Not the craziest. And then 151 receiving yards, as we saw from Griffin. 97 from Robert Thomas. Damiani had 88 too. So looks like it was a pretty strong showing from a lot of the similar guys, as you'd expect. In terms of the standings at the end of the season, here's the final conference standings. Yep, we have won it. We have won the MAC, so I guess technically, yeah, it will be us in Eastern Michigan for the championship, which on paper, we should be able to win. I don't know if I jump in and watch the entire game next episode, if that might make us lose potentially, but I think it would be fun to watch an entire game. And then that would be the entire episode is just the finals game. Maybe we do that. But we ended the season off on a 3-game winning streak. So, yeah, maybe we will watch the entire game next episode if you guys are into that. Or we could obviously simulate for 3 quarters and then we could watch the 4th quarter. But I would prefer maybe to watch the entire thing, I think. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. But technically, on paper, in terms of points for, we were the 5th best offensive team in the MAC. Points allowed, we were the 3rd best defensive team. In terms of differential, we were tied for 2nd with Bowling Green. Buffalo, despite the below 500 record, we're technically the best in differential. That's kind of weird. Our average margin of victory, 3.7. Tied for 2nd still. 5-2 on home field, 3-2 on the road, 3-game winning streak. How was Eastern Michigan compared to us? So 7-5 to 8-4. Both of us were 6-2 versus the conference. Their points for was way less than ours. They actually were a pretty good defensive team though, so that's a bit scary. So that's maybe why they were decent. They were 2nd best defensively. But aside from that, it's going to be an interesting matchup. Their average margin of victory was barely anything. 0.3. So I feel like we should be able to win, but who knows? That defensive rating is definitely not as good as ours. We should maybe be able to win it. I'm kind of surprised that we actually got to the finals with how we played in the last little bit. That's awesome. All right. So there's that. What else did we want to take a look at? Can I go to player stats from the season, I guess? Season stats. Yeah, let's look at this. Just because this season is one like any other. So yeah, 53% completion rate throughout the entire season for Jeff Jennings, and obviously he was fantastic in 12 games. We didn't give any games to Sharp this year, but next year maybe. Kennedy, I don't know if we're going to be able to. He has been redshirted, but I'm not sure what happens with him next season. Rushing yards, 178 carries from Branham, 828 yards. He was by far our best rushing halfback or rushing kind of guy. And then receiving yards, 980 this year from Lewis Griffin, 715 from Thomas. Almost 1,000 yards from Griffin is crazy. I guess he could technically still get that in the next game. Aside from that, obviously we're still missing Jackson too. Man, he was definitely, I'd say, our best defensive player, 65 tackles this year. And Aguide was our other best one, and he had 60 tackles before he was injured. So hopefully these guys come back soon, but I don't think they're going to get to play in the championship game because they're still out. So there is all of that. I guess we will advance to next week now, I think. Not sure if there's anything else I should take a look at. Let's actually go injury report again. Was there anybody else injured in the last game of the season? No, there wasn't. Yeah, so these guys will miss the championship game, unfortunately, but at least this team found a way to get to the championship game this season. So let's go to a recruiting update one last time before, obviously, the finals game, which will be in next episode, I think. We're still leading on a lot of guys. Muma, we fell to 4th, so I probably should withdraw from Muma almost at this point, but he hasn't even reached his top 3 yet, so... Yeah, that's probably fine for the time being. All right, let's advance next week so we can see that it's a nice little screen that we're in the championship game for the MAC. So, obviously, like I said, I think the entire next episode might be this finals game. But in terms of advanced summary, weekly advanced summary, looks like some guys are getting better in terms of interest. And obviously, the stuff won't change. But it was a weird start to the season. Like I said, we were 4-3 on the start of the season, right? So we definitely had a really good end to the year, and that's probably what helped us get to this finals game. But in terms of the recruits, in case you guys were wondering, O'Leary, we're first on, Grisou, we're first on, and same with Stephen again. But there it is, the MAC championship game coming next episode. Akron versus Eastern Michigan. I don't think we played them at all this year either, right? If I'm not mistaken. But that's going to be an interesting matchup for sure. We're actually in a conference championship game. That's awesome. I guess what happens if we win this conference championship game? Do we get to play against other conference champions or what? I think so, maybe. I'm not sure exactly how it works in terms of football, but wow. All right. Let's see what it shows on paper here. We saw this. Yeah, we're better than them in a lot of areas. We should be able to win, but we did lose against a bad team in this episode, so who knows. Impact player, obviously, Lewis Griffin, and it's the battle of the top 2 teams. All right. Well, anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Akron Zips Dynasty Mode. So in next episode, if you guys want, like I said, we'll watch the entire championship game, see if we could beat Eastern Michigan. Hopefully we can. And if we do, obviously, then we'll say that we at least took this team to a MAC championship. And then hopefully after that, we continue to build up this team. I'm not too sure if there's a way to basically get us into like being a 5-star school at some point. But to still win a conference championship would actually be awesome. And that way, at least I've seen that I'm able to turn this team into a winner. So anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.